my yarny friends, I'm Sara Sach, and welcome back to another edition of This or That. And today's This or That question is a little bit different than what we've been doing. And just in case you don't know what we've been doing, what we do is I ask you a question. It has to do with yarn or crochet or crafting or tools that we use. I ask you a question and then you comment down in the comment section underneath this video. And remember, no matter the question, there are no wrong answers because we can learn from each other. And be sure and read other people's comments as well because you'll learn from each other as well. And I always learn from you all. Now, today's question has to do with, I put out a meme the other day asking you a question about what is one tip that helped you when you were learning to crochet that you want to share with others. So I thought I would share with you some of those tips that people posted. Some of them are kind of fun and a lot of them are very good. All right, so I've got the list here. The first one says, don't be afraid to make mistakes because you will. We all make mistakes, and even seasoned crocheters, whether you've been crocheting for a month or for 100 months, you're going to make mistakes from time to time. Your count's going to get off. You may stitch too loose. Don't worry about it. If you make a mistake, there's nothing wrong with pulling it out, or as they call ribbit, 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 frog. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes. That's how we learn, really. How can we learn if we don't make mistakes, right? So don't worry about it too much. And a lot of times you can undo those things and make something different and save the yarn. And that was another thing is, if you do make mistakes, don't throw it away. Save the yarn and make something new and different with that yarn. Okay, another one was, don't be afraid to ask questions. And that's something sometimes I get, people will send me emails or messages or just post on YouTube and they'll ask me a question. I really prefer, if you're going to ask me a question, that you send me an email because it's easier to answer the question, especially if I want to send you some pictures from that particular pattern that will help you understand. Sometimes it has to do with, a stitch count or maybe where to put the stitch. And it's a lot easier if I can send you a picture. But having said that, don't worry about asking a question, whether it's me or some other crochet designers, because there's a bunch of us out there and we're having a lot of fun, and there's a lot of really good ones too. And you know what? They're humans. Their testers are humans, just like mine. And sometimes we do make mistakes that we don't catch. Sometimes it's a simple thing like putting a comma in the wrong place, and it messes up the thought as you go across the sentence, things like that. And so don't worry about it. Ask the question. And if you don't get the answer that you're looking for, the next thing that someone said is Google and YouTube are your friends. So what is meant by Google and YouTube are your friends is that sometimes there's a phrase used like frogging. And you can put, what does crochet frogging mean, in your search engine, whether you use Google or some other search engine, as well as in the YouTube search engine. In that little magnifying looking glass circle, you can click that. You can put a stitch you're looking for, a designer, you can put a pattern, or just ask a question, and things will come up that will help you along the way. All right, so remember, Google or whatever search engine that you're using and YouTube are your friends. And going along with that and asking questions is another tip that someone said, keep on learning. It doesn't matter how long or how short you've been crocheting. Crocheting and crochet is a learning process, and enjoy the process along the way because that's part of it. Yes, we love to crochet neat and cool things. We love to give them away and see the look on people's face when you say, I made that. And they're like, oh, that is wonderful. And you don't always get that response, but I do a lot of times because I have a lot of crochet friends and a lot of people that know that I crochet. And when I give them something, I'm usually knowing that the person I'm going to give it to is going to enjoy it. I've learned in the past that those who don't, they don't get stuff. And sometimes I do out of spite just because I want them, give them something because I love them. Not everyone's going to appreciate our crochet. But back to the subject, we need to always be learning because crochet is an ever-growing art. I've said this many, many times, constantly changing, new patterns, new techniques, new yarns that we want to try out. So you'll never stop learning. And that's why I say people, they say they're experts. They're really not, because there's always something they don't know. I never say I'm an expert. I always say I'm learning. And we need to always keep learning. And so the last tip that I want to share with you that I got is don't give up. Sometimes very talented people can pick up a new craft and it's super easy for them. But some of us, we want to learn it, but it's not as easy for us. One thing someone told me one time is that crochet, of course, is an art. It's a yarn art, fabric, fiber art, because we do use fabrics and fibers. But also, not everybody can comprehend as quickly all the stitches and where the hook goes and things like that. So don't beat yourself up if you don't catch on immediately. Give yourself some time. Start simple. Something that happens a lot of times is we start crocheting and we're like, I've got this single crochet row thing down. And then you go and you find this pattern and it has maybe some single crochets in it, but it has lots of intricate stitching. And you try this and it's way too hard for you because you haven't learned that yet. That doesn't mean you won't, but you've just skipped ahead and then you get discouraged because you can't do that particular thing. So what I'm trying to say here is don't give up. Know your your crochet skill level, because easy and beginner are not the same. There's a beginner level, then there's an easy level, okay? And so once you've mastered a whole bunch of those beginner level things, get into the easy level things, and then you can work your way up and learn as you go. And that will keep you from getting frustrated and want to quit, okay? So again, using Google or YouTube or whatever search engine, you can put in that little magnifying glass search, beginner crochet patterns or easy crochet patterns, and ones that are on those levels will come up, and those will be things that you can learn and practice, okay? And so if you've tried something and you just can't figure it out, don't give up. Try something else. And one thing that I do sometimes, because you know what, even I overthink a pattern or stumble on something and I think I should know how to do this. But when it doesn't quite work out, I take that particular thing and it goes over in what I call the naughty corner. All right. And then it gets left sitting over there for a little bit and I work on things and then I go back to it later. Sometimes for me, now it may not be you, I overthink what designers are trying to tell me. And one of the things I really try to do in my patterns is keep it simple. And when there's complicated stitches, I try to give a little bit more pictures for the steps, even within a row. And because I don't want you to get frustrated, I want you to love crochet like I do. Okay? And so these are some tips that you can use. They're not crochet tips. They're tips to keep you crocheting. Okay? So ask questions. Keep learning. Enjoy the process. Don't give up. And remember that Google or whatever search engine that you're using and YouTube are your best friends. And the last thing I want to leave you with is this is something that I say all the time. Practice might make perfect, but when it comes to art, I think that practice makes confidence. And when you have confidence in your art, you want to share it. Okay? And so Here is a question. I didn't ask you a question. So here's a question on today's This or That video. What is a tip in learning to crochet and keep crocheting that you have for us? All right. Answer down in the comments, in those comments section, and give us all a tip that we can all use, no matter how silly it may sound. One of the ones I always say is, keep a cup of coffee handy, but don't spill it. Well, thanks for being with me today, and I hope that you learned something here and that you'll keep on crocheting. See you next time.